Over the past year, we've brought you reviews of every single new half-ton on the market, but today we're going bigger, taking a look at the brand new heavy duties coming from General Motors. There's two engines you can get with your GM heavy-duty truck. The base one is a 6-liter V8 that makes 360 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. The larger engine option is a Duramax 6.6-liter turbo diesel that pumps out 397 horsepower and a whopping 765 pound-feet of torque. Maximum payload on the GM HDs is 7,374 pounds, while the max available towing capacity is 19,600 pounds when the truck is equipped with a factory hitch. For the fifth wheel hitch, you can load this truck up with 23,200 pounds worth of a trailer. The least expensive GM heavy-duty truck will sell for $32,405, but if you opt for a 3,500 diesel dually crew cab and load it up with the LTZ trim, the price will climb to just above $66,000. The outside of this truck adopts its looks from the updated General Motors half-ton trucks. The biggest difference is the grille that they've put on these HDs. It gets two much thicker chrome bars that give this big old truck a beefy look. One other thing I have to mention is new Duramax badges that are stuck on the hood. They're raised about ½ an inch, and man, they look sweet. Now, the interiors are basically identical between the HDs and those half-tons. You get this nice touchscreen in the center stack that runs Chevy's MyLink infotainment, which in my experience has worked flawlessly. I really like it. You also get a nicely laid out steering wheel with controls behind the wheel for your volume and for tuning the radio. You also get these rubber wrapped buttons, 5 USB ports, a proper 3-prong 120 volt outlet, and things like the trailer brake controller, which has been moved up here to the left of the wheel. It's within easy reach. For the guy who's going to be doing a lot of miles in his GM HD pickup, it's going to be a really comfortable ride. GM also updated the cab configurations on this truck. There's a new double cab that replaces the extended cab, and it has proper front hinge doors, so now there's no more of those little suicide doors that you have to deal with. On top of that, the crew cab model, the rear doors have been made bigger, and there's 2 extra inches of legroom, and I can tell you that those back seats are quite big and very comfortable for your passengers. One of the first things you'll notice inside of this new HD is just how quiet it is. That's thanks to some aerodynamic enhancements and these new inlaid doors, among other things. Now, personally, I kind of like to hear the rumble of that diesel, but for most people, you want your truck to be nice, quiet, and smooth, and this HD really does deliver that. The steering feel in this new HD is quite progressive. When you're cruising on the highway, it's pretty light, and for my taste, there's actually a bit too much of a dead zone in here. But once you start to crank on the wheel, it really starts to tighten up and it gives you that nice feeling. So when you're in the middle of a corner, the wheel's giving you maximum amounts of feedback. But when you're on the highway, it's staying nice and smooth. You don't really have to put too much input into it to make sure it tracks straight. So right now we're driving the diesel 3500 dually. We got 3,500 pounds in the back, which is about half of what this truck is rated at. It's just enough weight that you do feel it, and it gives it a nice smooth ride. With just that payload in the bed, when you put your foot into it, all the torque is there and the truck doesn't feel taxed at all. But let's see how this big girl handles once you get a trailer on the hitch. So now we have a 13,000 pound fifth wheel trailer hooked up to the back of this. And I can tell you that this truck feels pretty darn good. Now, it's just over half of what it's rated to tow, so I mean, we're not really pushing it. But these are the kind of travel trailers that most consumers are gonna buy, and frankly, for the everyday driver, this truck is more than enough for something of this weight. For anyone who's ever pulled anything of any serious weight through the mountains or any big hills, You know what it feels like when you're careening down a hill hoping that the brakes are going to hold you. Well, General Motors has addressed that. They have new auto-grade braking that works in conjunction with the cruise control. So if you set your cruise at 50 miles an hour, the idea is the truck will do everything in its power to hold you at 50 miles an hour. It combines downshifting and the exhaust brake to keep you at a nice even speed. So you never really feel like you're out of control. The truck does all the work for you. You just set the cruise and you go. Another good feature that GM's put on these HDs is hill start assist. Now, especially when you have a big amount of weight on the back, it's gonna hold you on a hill when you take your foot off the brake. That means that if someone pulls up right behind you, you don't gotta worry about rolling back and smashing up their nose. The HDs also adopt the bed of the half tons, which means that they get GM's bumper integrated step, they get new high tie downs, and they get LED lights right in the bed. One other thing that GM does great, and one of my favorite features, is a spray-in bed liner from the factory. In 2011, General Motors brought their heavy-duty trucks up to speed mechanically, but they still lacked refinement and interior quality. Now with the 2014s, these are smoother, quieter, and more comfortable than ever. And with the diesel and that Allison transmission, this is one workhorse that will not disappoint.